everyone, Aimer back with another Mission Impossible episode review. Sorry this has taken a while. I got some new gear and needed to make some adjustments for it. My first go at this video didn't turn out quite as well as I would have liked, but I think I've righted the ship and got my settings proper. Thanks for being patient with this one. This time I am reviewing from the Revival, Season 1, Episode 18, which is called Submarine. So we're in the South China Sea, according to the byline, where we see a man throw a submarine distress beacon into the water from his boat and sail away. A nearby submarine gets its signal, but its crew tells the commander that it's not the usual type, and the computers start to malfunction. The captain somehow realizes it's a malicious computer virus, or at least that's what's happening, and believes it to be an enemy attack. So orders the crew to fire torpedoes, which causes a cascading system failure, and the sub starts to take on water and sinks. Jim goes to an airfield, uses some spy speak with a fighter pilot to get his disc player. The mission: the sub was the USS Concord. Only 3 people survived the wreck to tell the tale of what happened, and the details are being kept quiet for the time being. The IMF must obtain the virus so that it can be countered before world peace is threatened and put its dealers out of business. The one lead they currently have is that an arms dealer named Renard is preparing to purchase the technology to cause mayhem, and the sinking of the sub appears to have been a demonstration for him. We get an honest-to-goodness apartment scene here, where we learn that Renard's communications have been monitored, and he's on his way to Hong Kong to meet a supplier. Grant doctors a picture of Renard to include Nicholas in it, and off the team goes. Jim gets a seat next to Renard on a hoverboat as an obnoxious novelty salesman and puts a sticker on his laptop. At customs, Max and Shannon watch Renard as he shares a nod with the man we saw in the opening scene. They inform Nicholas, and us as the audience, that he's Admiral Edgar Shepard of the U.S. Navy, who's expressed his disdain of recent arms reduction treaties. Jim's scent-laced sticker causes the police dogs to go bonkers, so Renard is taken away for questioning. And when x-rayed, the sticker shows an image of a gun and a grenade, putting Renard in bigger trouble. Nicholas approaches Shepard, who immediately points a gun at him and demands to know who he is. He says he's Renard's associate, sent alongside in case anything went wrong, showing him the picture as evidence. Max and Shannon come to the customs office as Interpol agents, pulling a Bavarian fire drill and saying that Renard is a decoy for drug runners, allowing them to take him out of the picture while the drugs go through. Max and Grant follow Nicholas and Shepard to a heavily guarded villa, which they manage to infiltrate. Nicholas listens intently as Shepard starts his auction with his clients, telling us that he's given them the tainted distress beacons free of charge, because what he's really selling is the antivirus. Max taps into the sprinkler system with anesthetic gas, while Grant taps into the satellite to put on a special bulletin featuring Shannon breaking the news about the Concord, as well as another boat crashing near the coast of Hong Kong, apparently from computer failure, leaking dangerous chemicals as Max activates the gas and everyone outside starts to pass out. Shepard is furious that apparently someone used the beacons prematurely. As the potential buyers try to flee the villa, but to no avail, they pass out from the gas. Shepard questions Nicholas accusingly, but also passes out from the gas, as Nicholas barely has time to put on a mask. As he falls, Shepard crushes the floppy disk in his hand, and Nicholas informs Jim, who says that's okay, they'll proceed with their plan. Max and Grant take Shepard away as Navy men sent to rescue him, and take him to what he's told is the USS Detroit, where he meets Commander Max and Dr. Jim, who sedate him temporarily and take his contacts so they can be replaced by IMF duplicates. The IMF adjusts the clock to make Shepard think he's been out for a while, and he sees some body bags, which Jim tells him are from the Concord. 2 of the survivors have died from radiation poisoning. Only Commander O'Neill remains. Shepard is then told that the Detroit has been sent in because many other rescue craft have apparently gone missing, and Commander Max's orders are to find out what is going on. Shepard tells him to leave immediately, as those ships likely fell prey to the virus as well. But at that point, they're told that an aircraft has been located near the wreck. Jim, Max, and Shepard go above to have a look, and Grant and Nicholas rescue a Russian pilot, actually Shannon, who warns him about the virus affecting her ship, which then goes up in a massive explosion. Grant adjusts the Admiral's lenses to make them go dark, and as he's taken back to sickbay, Nicholas puts on an O'Neill mask. Grant gives him back partial vision and shows him one of his beacons, as Shepard hears that the sub is preparing to launch torpedoes, sending him into a fit and screaming at them to stop. Nicholas, as O'Neill enters with a scarred and damaged face, telling the Admiral he can't stop it. They're doomed. The Admiral goes to the control room telling Commander Max that his ship is infected with the virus, and Nicholas, as O'Neill, tells Commander Max that Shepard is right, but Max orders him taken back to sickbay while he concentrates on manually setting his target, because the computers obviously aren't working right. The IMF simulates a torpedo launch for Shepard's benefit, and the sickbay starts to fill with water, the door opening from the pressure so that Shepard can get out and return to the control room, where he tells Max that he can save them. He knows how to program the antivirus. Max tells him he better act quickly before the sub falls apart, so Shepard pushes Grant off his station and starts typing madly. As he does, the IMF head away and let him do it, with Shannon recording the code on her computer. Grant leaves a tape behind with the expected noises from the submarine, and water continues to flow. Shepard heads for an escape hatch as Max and Nicholas follow him, accusing him of using the virus against his own navy. And as he pushes them away so he can escape himself, within the hatch, the IMF record him admitting that he did it, to establish naval superiority for the U.S. or something like that, which was instead wasted on an arms treaty. Grant gives Shepard back his vision as the IMF make their exit. Shepard exits the hatch to find that he's still on the submarine somehow, or what appears to be a submarine, with Grant's tape running and mannequins all around to simulate the crew. He also finds the mask of O'Neill and then exits the submarine to find that the explosion was actually film footage. Military police arrive to arrest Shepard as the IMF look on, and we get the obligatory lame one-liner from Jim. Mission accomplished. I'm going to give this episode a grade of a D+. If I were generous, I might give it a C-, but I think D+ is kind of where it belongs. From the outset, I wanted to say that this has nothing to do with the original episode from season 4 called Submarine. Depending on how you look at it, you could say it really does or it really doesn't. I guess maybe it does. Certainly the fact that, most of the critical action takes place on an IMF-created submarine set. Okay, of course, that's a similarity. No doubt about that. But I thought about it and I said, okay, the original episode Submarine is really about simulating a submarine voyage where things go wrong, and the Mark has to give up information in order to, quote-unquote, save himself, and of course that proves to be his undoing. So I guess at a very kind of basic level, you could say that, yeah, there is some similarity there. Certainly in terms of the quality of the episode, Submarine from the original series, of course, was one of the best episodes there ever was. It made the top 5 of my big ranking list, as probably everybody knows, and it certainly deserves to be there. This one is kind of a shell of that. Talking about the good, though, I would say that in principle, this is a task that is worthy of the IMF. They have to figure out, the identity of, the big bad who has actually created the virus and is preparing to sell it as they go, which is a good plot point. They don't know everything right from the beginning, and they formulate a way to trap Shepard once they find out that he's the one that they're after. And it is, a task that is related to national security and that sort of thing. So it's fine from that standpoint. At least it's not like some plots we've had in the revival and also in the original, where it's like, why is the IMF even bothering with this? We don't have that problem here. Also good. I liked the way that Jane Badler kind of, recovered from the previous outing Reprisal, where I mentioned that she was basically a placeholder. Now, we know why, because, Linda Day George had come back as a guest star, whatever. But here, I find this to be this one really shows her versatility. is what I'm trying to say. She plays multiple roles. She starts out as, an Interpol agent, then, she does her newscast, then she's one of the crew on the submarine. A lot of versatility there, and it reminds me of early episodes where Barbara Bain pulled off multiple roles and multiple duties within an episode. So that was good. Great rebound there for Jane Badler to come back. Mitchell Ryan as Shepard. I think that he's a good casting choice here. As an actor, I've seen him on, he's been a very prolific character actor in all sorts of different shows over the years throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And he plays a lot of these, very kind of authoritative, I don't give a damn, button down, sanctimonious, self-righteous types. He's really great in that. He had a guest role on Star Trek: The New Generation, very much like that. He was on the television show Dharma and Greg. Same idea. So great casting choice there. And as an actor playing the character of Edgar Shepard, he's quite good. I'll also say that it is good about how the IMF pulled off this caper with only 5 people. They use face masks to hide their identities. They're able to do that because of the nature of the plot. And they make Shepard blind at key moments so that he doesn't recognize Nicholas, for example, when Nicholas was kind of doing things almost right in front of him or helping him around or whatever. Normally in the original series, with a plot like this, and in the original Submarine, you can see this as well, the IMF had to use, a repertory or at least a couple of extra guys to push the plot forward. Here, that's not really necessary. There's kind of a counterpoint to that, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Just a note, and this is just a note on a personal level, seeing the floppy disk that Shepard brings out and said, "Here, gentlemen, here's the antidote to the virus." That brings back memories for me personally, having a computer store with my dad in late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, that's kind of neat, and then him kind of crushing it in his hand. Memories. Anyway, moving on to stuff that kind of is, not good. From a technology standpoint, there's a little bit lacking here. Grant picks up a beacon at one point and shows it to the Admiral. And Shepard tells him, "Don't touch it, you idiot." And right from the beginning, that's bothersome. Grant says in the apartment scene that, computer viruses don't work that way, of course. This is 1989. Not a lot of people are as familiar with, computer viruses and malware as they are now, I suppose. So maybe that did require a little bit of explanation. Didn't mind that at all. But for somebody like Shepard, who should know better how, his own creation works, he should know that, you can't, get the virus just by picking the thing up. He was the one who picked one of them up right at the beginning of the episode and tossed it in the ocean. Maybe he was worried about something happening after it activated or whatever. But still, computer viruses don't work that way. They don't infect humans like, human viruses do. It's not like the flu. The only danger, as Grant mentions, from a computer virus is when it infects other computers. And even that is a bit of a stretch because somehow or other, I suppose it's possible, but I can't think of any mechanism, especially back in 1989. Remember, there's no internet or anything like that. There might be at some levels of high levels of the government, but for a submarine to respond to a beacon and take back a signal, and that signal has a virus infected in it, bit of a reach there. Anyway, but it just the way that scene comes across, where Shepard acts as though Grant picking up that beacon is going to cause some sort of health problem for him or for them or whatever. It just didn't make any sense. Even if he was saying, "Don't bring it on board," let's try to get rid of it or something like that. If that's what he was going for, I mean, what did he expect Grant to do? Grant could toss it back into the ocean, quote unquote, but it's not going to be out of range of the submarine. It's not really going to matter. I didn't really like that much. That was just weird. Part and parcel. That is part and parcel of what I think is really the problem with this episode. It's kind of two-pronged. First of all, the plot is pretty thin. There's a lot of unnecessary dialogue. When you have a situation where the Mark Shepard is able to spend so much time, 3 or 4 minutes, discovering what's happened at the end of the episode after the mission has been completed, that just means that there was a lot of time wasted here. This also seems like a rather cookie cutter plot, I would say. There's nothing too fancy or exciting here in terms of the way the IMF goes about its business. Also kind of concomitant to that, there's not a high degree of difficulty because Shepard as a villain is really lame and I would say quite unengaging as a character and as a villain. The IMF has no problem executing this task. They were even prepared for the fact that maybe they wouldn't be, the fact that, Shepard crushes the floppy disk as he falls, succumbs to the gas in his villa. That doesn't even bother the IMF. It's okay. Jim is like, yeah, okay, whatever. We still got this guy. The whole thing seems way more elaborate than it needed to be because Shepard is not as smart as he thinks he is. Calling him a schmuck is maybe not fair because the IMF really do a number on him. And the way that they gaslight him, it's excessive. It begs a question to me of how the IMF could be so crazy prepared and get a submarine set created on such short notice. Maybe they did have it planned all along. They didn't know who they were after until they got to the Hong Kong airport. But I guess the plan all along is whoever it is, we're going to put that person on this submarine set and make them believe that the only way that they can save their life is by giving us the antidote some way, somehow. I guess it does make a little bit of sense from that standpoint. Something just didn't quite seem right about it. And that leads me into what I think is the biggest problem. There is a really big lack of focus surrounding the whole Edgar Shepard character. First of all, the IMF is able to basically ragdoll this guy. I don't even know what other words to use to describe what they pull on him. They drag him in so many different directions, and it just seems so easy for them. Here, Admiral, come to sick bay. We'll take care of you. Hey, Admiral, you got to come see this. Send this blind Admiral back to sick bay. Admiral, come on. You got to, you better hurry up and get on that computer and, fix this problem. They're just literally dragging him in so many different directions. But concomitantly with that, I just find that the Shepard character is also surrounded, like internally, with this lack of focus. I don't get a good read on what his motivation is. Is his motivation for what he's doing making money? He is essentially the late 80s version of what we would probably now call, a cyber warfare expert. And I don't know, I can't really tell. Is he doing this just purely for financial reasons? Is he worried about the fact that the Cold War is ramping down, which it was at the time? Was he worried that that was going to kind of start making him irrelevant? My understanding is that there were people in the military and in the CIA who were very, very concerned about that. and would sometimes even borderline provoke things in order to kind of keep themselves relevant and keep their jobs, because they're like, well, gee, if there's no Soviet Union out there for us to, to call our enemy, what exactly are we supposed to do? Let's leave the politics of all of that alone. But that sort of stuff, I'm sure, did happen. It's also not clear to me whether maybe Shepard just wanted to establish U.S. naval superiority through his creation. Was it some combination of the three? Given that the plot was so thin, I would really have liked to have seen that maybe explored a little bit more, so that, his character could have been more solidified. The best IMF villains, it's clear what their motivations are. It might be lame, but it's clear. They just want power. They just want money. They just want something. And here, Shepard's motivations are completely unclear. His behavior seems kind of waffly, and not only that, but the way that the IMF is able to just drag him around everywhere, it's almost, I almost feel like saying, geez, could you please just put a leash on this guy so I just can have him in one place for like 30 seconds, please. In terms of a callback, there were plenty of episodes, especially in season 6 and 7 of the original series, where the IMF just, they have a mission with not a very high degree of difficulty, and they just basically have their way with their mark. I don't think they ever did it quite like this, where they left all of their evidence behind and were just able to kind of drag a guy around like this. I don't really have too much of a thought process that tells me, oh yeah, that's an episode to call back to. I guess something that would sort of qualify might be Encore from season 6, where, once the IMF gets the information that they need, then they just kind of, hightail it out of there and leave the Mark, who was played by William Shatner in that one, just alone. And then he just goes out and says, hey, what the heck happened? And then realizes, the level to which he's been duped. Maybe that ending is kind of an analog to what we see here. So that could be considered kind of a callback. Anyway, I think that's it in terms of what I want to say about this one. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. Please like this review video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I thank everybody who has subscribed, and I'm looking for some more. If I can get up to a certain number, I think it will expand my ability to have these videos watched more and improve the searches and work through the YouTube algorithm, that sort of thing. So please, I would ask you to subscribe. I think it would help the channel out a lot. And please leave your comments about this episode and other episodes. I'd also like your feedback. I think that you'll know, obviously you'll see from, the new camera and whatnot that I've got, that this video hopefully comes out a lot better. I'd like to hear your feedback about the quality of the video as well as I continue this journey. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.